Welcome to the third video in our Open Fender System installation guide series for the 2016 through 2018 Chevy HD. In this video, we will be going through the entire cutting process. Our goal is to provide this comprehensive instruction in manageable chapters and steps so that an individual will feel comfortable during the process. This is not a replacement for the professional skills and experience required. Disclaimer: all liability for installation and use rests with the owner of the vehicle. Careless installation and operation can result in serious injury or equipment damage, and for professional installation only. Chapter 5, Step 1. Cutting the cab. Begin the cutting process with cab template 1. Start from the bottom outside edge and work your way up using a cutoff wheel. Follow the red dashed lines that indicate a cut profile. Then, start at the horizontal cut profile at the top and cut straight across. Next, use a large reciprocating saw to cut vertically through the inner structure of the rocker channel. Be careful not to cut above the template line. Next, move on to the cab template 2 by cutting upward from the hole in the template. Then, cut across the top of the template horizontally using a small reciprocating saw or cutoff wheel. Mark a line connecting the bottom of the cut line of cab template 2 to the cut line on cab template 1, and on the same plane as the cut line on template 2. Cut through the marked line with a reciprocal saw. Always cut in favor of excess material. This can be adjusted after the fact. When those cuts are made, pry the corner section of the rocker channel away from the truck. When the material is removed, cut away the inner structure that is left behind, making sure that this cut is in line with or behind the first cut on cab template 1. Clean the inner face of the rocker channel with a flap disc grinder and cleaning solution in preparation for cab template 3. With the area cleaned, apply cab template 3 to the inside wall of the rocker channel by aligning the top with a corresponding cut profile. With the template in place, continue with the cutting process. Start at the bottom of the rocker panel that is in line with the template cut profile and cut up until you reach the bottom of the template. Switch to a small reciprocating saw or cutoff wheel to finish cutting the rest of the template. Next, we will move on to cab template 4. Start cutting horizontally at the top of the template using a small reciprocating saw or cutoff wheel. Then, make the vertical cut along the red dashed cut profile. Continue cutting in the vertical position until the rear underside of the cut profile is reached. Next, move to the first cut position on cab template 3, and use a large reciprocating saw to cut through the lower face of the body mount support structure. With the cut section removed, grind the vertical pinch seam at a 45-degree angle. Chapter 5, Step 2. Cutting the body mounts. Mark the body mount bracket on the frame using tape or a marker. Measure 3/4 of an inch from the chassis ground screw to inside of the cut line. Using a cutoff wheel or other appropriate tool, cut along the inside of the edge of the tape or mark, keeping the tool on a level plane. When the cut is finished, clean up the edges with a wheel grinder. Chapter 5, Step 3, Cutting the Rear Fenders. Start with the outside cut profile of fender template 5 and cut up from the bottom until you cross the inner structure. From here, start cutting down from the top of the template, making sure to cut through both fender layers. Finish out the cuts until the template area detaches. Move on to fender template 7 and repeat the process that was just completed for fender template 5. Start cutting down from the top of the template, making sure to cut through both fender layers. Next, we will move on to fender template 6. Start by cutting outward from the return flange on the OEM fender opening. Make this cut in line with one side of the dome-shaped cut profile. Continue cutting the red profile line up and around, then back inwards through the return flange. At this point, the cut section should fall out, and you can repeat this process for the other dome-shaped cut line. Mark the section of the rear inner structure in front of the tire as shown. Then cut along the line until the excess material detaches. Cut away the material located at the bottom of the inside wheel well. Always be sure to smooth out your cuts. Now apply the rust trap coating. Chapter 5, Step 4, Cutting the Front Fenders. Begin by cutting the fender template 1 along the red cut profile and through all layers of material. Apply fender template 2 to the inside part of the fender, perpendicular to template 1, and cut up from the bottom until you cross the inner structure. Cut all the way through the red cut profile. Then, move on to cutting fender template 3 by connecting the cuts from fender template 1 and fender template 2. Cut all the way through the red cut profile. Be sure to cut through both layers of the fender. Cut along the template until the blade contacts the perpendicular inner fender. Cut through the profile and connect it to the cuts on template 1. Now flip the fender over. Lastly, cut along the cut profile of fender template 4 to remove the material at the lower front section of the fender. Clean up all of your cuts and be sure to apply the rust trap protection to any exposed areas. You can now move on to the passenger side to apply the same cuts to cab template 1 through 4 and fender templates 1 through 7 in the exact same way as they were applied on the driver's side. You are finished with cutting process and can move on to Chapter 6.